Where do the Vikings go from here? They lost a really close game to the Denver Broncos on Sunday night. That size says it all. Very frustrating loss for multiple reasons. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about this running back debate. And Ty Chandler, should he get more touches? Should Madison be benched? It's more complicated than what the eye can see on broadcast. Welcome to the Real Forno Show.
Welcome to the Real Forno Show, hosted by Tyler Forness, the managing editor of USA Today's Vikings Wire, writer for the College Football Network, publisher of Substack Run In Shooter, host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, as well as a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Real Forno Show. I'm your host, Tyler Forness. With me, as always, in the top right corner, he is producer Dave. And in the bottom right corner, you can't see him, his name is Odie. And maybe I'll squat down and you can take a look and see Odie. But my office is kind of gross. I have clothes laying everywhere. So we might not get to do that. But he's here. And he
Sound absorption material is what you have everywhere.
Oh, yes. I do have a lot of sound absorption material. I've not gotten anything on the ceiling yet, mainly because I suck with DIY stuff. And, well, I don't want to do it. So, welcome to the Real Forno Show. Dave, we've had almost 24 hours to kind of sit with the loss. How are you feeling this morning or evening? My brain is just absolutely messed up with time right now.
Still frustrated over that game. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably the best way to put it. It's just frustrating. And it started with the third play of the game. The Vikings ran that trick play. I actually didn't get to see it live. All of a sudden, I just saw the Broncos were celebrating. I'm like, what happened? Because my wife was watching Fubo, which is how we watch the game. So I was using my gimmick. And it like glitched for a quick second. And it completely skipped the play. I'm like, what in the world just happened?
Oh yeah, and that was the first spearing hit of the night.
Mm-hmm. Kareem Jackson, the guy who made that hit, was just coming off of a 2-game suspension. He has been suspended 4 games for improper use of the helmet, and they're really trying to get people away from launching themselves. And it wasn't where he hit Dobbs. Where he hit Dobbs was fine. It was like in the chest, and in that instance,
came up under his chin.
But he basically launched himself like a rocket. Crown of the helmet first, straight ahead. You can't do that. It's illegal. It's not safe. I'm less mad about the fact that it wasn't called on the field. That's asking to hurt somebody. Like that's intent to injure. That, like, I will give all the credit to Luke Braun, who was the first to kind of voice that opinion, and he's right. You can't do that.
That's been illegal since I was playing Pop Warner.
Mm-hmm.
You could not, they called it spearing, and it's to hit with the crown of the helmet. And one, not only can it injure the player you're tackling, it can injure you. It can severely cause spine problems, upper neck spine injuries, plus concussion related CTE type stuff. The neck isn't designed to take the compression like that. That's on the tackler. On the person with the ball, he came up, hit him here, came up under the chin, and I'm surprised he didn't knock him out, because that's usually, and they were smart. They immediately yanked him and said, blue tent, check for concussion, because that sort of hit can do that. You see it in boxing all the time. Somebody will come up with an uppercut right under the chin, and bam, guy goes out. It's the same sort of hit. And yes, he should be suspended.
Yeah, he should have been suspended. And this isn't a one-time thing. One-time thing, okay. 2-time things, all right, come on. This is a multi-time thing. And the Texans linebacker Denzel Perryman just got suspended for 3 games for basically the same thing. Impermissible use of the helmet and using it in their tackling. And it was reduced to 2 games. Same with Kareem Jackson. Jackson only took 3 plays to get suspended again. And they should have called the play on the field. But sometimes, bang, bang, it can be hard to miss, especially like with how congested everything was. So, yeah, it sucks. It should have been called.
And I was listening to,
right.
I think it was PFF's podcast today. Believe it or not, there was 3 of those incidents in our game. That was just the first. And it wasn't all 3 by the same person. Mm-hmm. There was, but when they asked New York, because New York's the big eye in the sky, why couldn't you do something, right? Because inside of 2 minutes, they can call and stop play and say there was a foul on that if the refs missed it. But outside of 2 minutes, they cannot, and there was no flag thrown on it. So there was no litigious way for them to get involved, even though they thought it was illegal hit. And it is what it is. And that's just the way the rules are written. As of present, they're going to have to change them again so that if New York sees something like that they could step in, even if the on-field reffing crew missed it.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. The Vikings, you can't completely blame the loss on the refs. We just can't do that. But considering that multiple were missed, it's very frustrating. And especially because one of those ended up with a fumble, you can absolutely say it was a contribution. And then when Alexander Mattison got stood up and like Singleton basically did the same thing, that was a little bit cleaner. He absolutely launched himself. It hit the shoulder, but you just can't be doing that, man. You just can't. And doing that when you're Kareem Jackson, when you know the league is watching, this is like telling your mom, oh, I didn't take a cookie out of the cookie jar. And then she counts them, leaves the room, and then comes back in and counts them again, and another cookie's missing. You're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. You're just not. There's no way he was going to get the benefit of the doubt here because he continues to do this. It is a habitual trend. It is not a one-time occurrence. It is a trend, and it is a worrisome trend because this isn't just about this is about keeping players safe. This isn't about winning and losing football games. People can die. People have died playing football. Damar Hamlin did die, and they were able to resuscitate him, and now he's still playing in the league, which in itself is a miracle. Also, thank you for mentioning that. I don't know if Dave can do anything about the stream lagging, but it's something that we'll be aware of, and we'll look into it. It could just be because it's a 6:00 thing, and a lot of people are using the internet. We don't know.
It's a bandwidth thing. It looks great at my end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing the lag. So,
well, that is a good thing. But let's kind of talk about this game. This may be a little bit of an abbreviated episode. It is a holiday week. The Vikings do play the Bears on Monday Night Football, and it'll be the second Monday night game, the Vikings will have played this season, with the first being the win over the 49ers. Trying to do that Chris Berman voice, and that was just not very good. But this episode's going to be about where do the Vikings go from here? Because it's frustrating that they lost, but understanding some of the things that happened and then how you can kind of progress moving forward is going to be the key here. And let's start off with running back, Dave. Let's just be honest here. The Vikings don't have a good running back. They have running backs. Alexander Mattison has his benefits. He's really good at the little things. He's really good at the stuff like pass blocking, and he's a good route runner, and he's got the intangibles. He does those little things right. When it comes to, I'm going to give you the ball, find the hole, hit it, and go, Mattison struggles. He hesitates. He doesn't see it with confidence. And because he doesn't see it with confidence, that ends up harming him. And Then you have a guy like Ty Chandler, who looks really explosive because he is. Come in and have a similar level of success. People are like, oh, why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? It's little things. That interception was Ty Chandler's fault because he didn't get the block. Now, Dobbs still has to make the throw, all that stuff. If Ty Chandler makes the block, that pick doesn't happen. That matters. That's why Madison is playing, even though he's objectively not as good of a runner. Or you could even, like, I know some will say that he's better in zone, but the Vikings are implementing a lot more gap schemes. So zone is, hey, you're going to have like a general direction to go, but you pick a lane and you cut back and you attack it. Gap runs, hey, follow Dalton Reisner's butt into the A gap, which is just to the right of the center and between the center and the guard. That's your hole. Hit it. A lot easier. It's a point and shoot. Instead of aiming at a clay pigeon flying through the air, you're hitting a still target. You already know where it's going to be. A lot easier to do that. So Chandler looks explosive, but if you take out the fake punt, which if you're just counting runs on offense, Alexander Madison averaged 4.5 yards a carry, Ty Chandler 4.2. Now, from an overall level, you're not going to take that out, but it wasn't an offensive play. It was a trick play, and it worked, and they deserve credit for that. But it wasn't an offensive run, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. Madison has his issues, and I don't want him to be the starting running back anymore. Problem is, do we have a better option? No, we don't. And Chandler's going to have to fix some of those little things if he wants to continue to stay on the field, because you don't just want to send Chandler out there because they're going to know it's a run, because you're not going to trust them in pass protection. And those things matter here. You have to be able to have some kind of ambiguity with the play calling. You have to have a running back there that can do multiple things, because if he's only able to do one thing, they're going to be able to key in on that. And then that changes your play call. It changes a lot of what the defense does. Like, it's just a tough scenario. The Vikings need to address running back. And there's the whole mantra, running backs don't matter. And that basically means you can find running backs for a lot cheaper. And when you pay a lot for running backs, you're not going to get the requisite value back for them. But you can still invest a second round pick. Like Dalvin Cook on his rookie contract was a great value. You still invested a good asset into him. Look, that's like a lot of times professional wrestlers, to kind of change it up, they break their necks. It's common. You get surgery to stabilize it. I can't remember. Fusion surgery, where you basically they take a drill and they put in a metal rod in between two discs and they fuse it together. Very common with wrestlers because of how they work. You take a lot of bumps on your head or right back here on like in between your shoulders. It's normal. Once you have the first surgery, it's supposed to strengthen it a lot. But if you have a second one, that can be brutal. If you remember wrestler Edge, goes by Adam Copeland in AEW. He had a second fusion surgery. And when he had that, they told him, you're never going to wrestle again. About 5-6 years after that, he had a triple fusion surgery that alleviated all of his pain. And now he's wrestling again. And he doesn't take pile driver spots, but he can wrestle. And it's not a farce. So that's kind of where we're at, like theoretically, with Cam Akers. He is going to be going through another brutal surgery, another brutal rehab process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I just want to address the lagging. I'm watching bandwidth, and we're being choked out. Spectrum's choking us out at the moment. That's probably why the lagging. Now, I do highly suggest everybody check their settings, because once it drops, as the bandwidth gets choked down, the quality drops. Go click it back to auto or click it back to its highest setting. It might catch up. And this sometimes happens, and there's nothing I can do to control this. I wish I could. Wish I had a direct pipe, as they say in the business. Wish it was fiber optics, but sorry guys, this is something on my end. Somebody hopefully hasn't dug up a cable or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's hope. Hey, I appreciate that. Go get them. It's fun. It helps that this is my full-time job and I'm not doing a full-time job while also doing this. Just as Dave, that was a hard time. But we made it.
Mm-hmm.
We made it. Now, let's kind of move on because we're going to make this a relatively abbreviated show just because I'm exhausted and I still have a lot of work to do. Mondays are a busy day, and after a Sunday game, brutal. So, one thing I want to remind everybody of, if you have not already, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. The best part is, it's free. You're doing all this stuff, and it's free to help us. And if you want to help us monetarily, there's two ways you can do that too. With a super chat, a lot of people have done that. And there's also subscriptions where we're going to be doing a lot more bonus content, especially once the season ends. And I'm going to be bringing on a lot of guests, shorter shows, 15 to 30 minutes, talking about draft prospects. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And you're going to get a lot of those before everyone else. You will have a window where you're going to get it before everyone else. And then we'll release it to the general public. And that's going to be a benefit for you guys. There's multiple tiers. Go ahead and pick one. And there's also a tier where if you are on our top tier, there's going to be special shows just for you guys to come on and talk ball. That's it. Super fun, super easy. And if you want to help monetarily, great. If you don't, it's free of charge. Mm-hmm. All it has to do is like, comment, subscribe. That's it. That's all free. And it helps the algorithm. It helps us grow. We are already at 1,650 subscribers, and we started March 13th.
Mm-hmm. And we appreciate you all for that. T-Bass, yes, the Vikings are 1-2 against teams with winning records. 500 and 500, they're 2-3. That's not that impressive. The reason being that Lewisine isn't playing. You know that.
That's good. Listen, you're not supposed to beat teams that are over 500. Like, it's okay to beat like where the Vikings are.
If you want to contend, you want to beat teams over 500.
Yeah, but I think beating the 49ers and then losing to the Chiefs and Eagles, I think is objectively fine. Like, in my latest power rankings, the Eagles were 1, the Chiefs were 2, and the Niners were 4. You beat the 4th team and lose to 1 and 2. Both of those games, which the Vikings had chances to win, by the way, they weren't beat. They lost. Like, I think the Vikings are in a good spot. And they should have beaten the Chargers. Like, I'm not super worried about that stat, but I will tell you, the Vikings on the road are 4-2, and I think that's pretty dope. All pro is the highest, Davey.
Which Davey is?
Yes, he is. And if you remember, Davey joined us a few Mondays back, and he was the first one to be able to take advantage of that perk. Let's move on because there's a few things I want to talk about. Next is Mekhi Blackmon, Andrew Booth Jr. Mekhi Blackmon played almost the entire game, played 53 or 55 snaps. He was attacked a lot. They utilized, they moved Blackmon around a lot. He was on Jerry Jeudy. He was on Cortland Sutton. And those elements, like, he just got beat. And it's okay to get beat. It's a little frustrating, but it's not like the Vikings absolutely sucked. Like, Blackmon just had a rough night. But what was really curious here, Dave, Andrew Booth Jr. played 4 snaps, all of them on special teams. Did not play once on defense. Jawan Williams, elevated from the practice squad, played 17 snaps. Why was Booth not playing? I really don't have an answer for that. And I think we're going to understand more when we maybe hear from Brian Flores later this week. He usually talks, I believe, on Wednesdays. We also could find out, hey, maybe it was just a situational thing where it's either Tuesdays or Wednesdays.
One of those 2 days.
Mhm.
Yes, and it's a good question because people have been asking, why didn't Booth play?
I don't really know. If I had to speculate, and this is pure speculation, I think it's because of practice. And I also think it's because of situational matchups. That's the only thing I can really parse out, because Blackmon is not playing at this substantially better level than Booth. I think he's better right now, but we aren't talking about a guy who is just substantially worse. We're not talking about going from Jalen Ramsey to Waswa Sirwanga. We're talking about like, hey, like these guys are both like 2019 Xavier Rhodes. They have talent, but they're liabilities right now. Can you help them grow from there? They're kind of in the same bucket. I don't know why Blackmon's getting so much more run. Blackmon's had success. So is Booth. I'm not really sure what the deal is. We'll find out. And I think we're going to find out with a substantial period of time now that we've seen Dobbs struggle. Sorry, not Dobbs, Blackmon. Like maybe that is the pathway to get Booth more snaps. I really don't know. And that's the tough part. I don't have an answer. So we're just kind of parsing it out and talking through it and trying to figure out why that might be, because watching Booth, he's been fine. He's not phenomenal, but he's playing on a level very similar to Blackmon, and I'm trying to figure it out.
Oh, the answer is get Evans back. And hopefully,
buddy, they missed Caleb Evans.
And hopefully by the end of the week, he may be ready to play Monday, but that's in doubt.
Mm-hmm. If you didn't know, you do now. He's good. He is good. Caleb Evans is a very good starting cornerback in the National Football League. Is he great? I don't think great's the right word. He's very good. He's a capable starter. And being a starter at corner is a big deal. He also has the size to be able to contend with a guy like Cortland Sutton. I wouldn't have been shocked if Evans followed Cortland Sutton around if he ended up playing on Sunday, because you have the size matchup. Evans is a good athlete. Sutton's only a good athlete. So being able to kind of like match size for size, I think, is also important. It's going to be interesting to see how quick he comes back. Calf injuries are tricky. Just ask Joe Burrow. Can take a while. But we also don't know on what level the calf is injured. It could just be like a tweak or a bruise. It could be a small pull. It could be a much bigger deal. We don't know. My guess, Evans has already been listed as questionable by O'Connell. So is Justin Jefferson. We'll get to that here next. My guess is Evans doesn't play. And they give him an extra week to get healthy. And he'll be back 4 weeks after his initial injury against the Las Vegas Raiders. And they take him on the 10th of December. 3 days after my birthday, by the way. Yeah, I'm not really sure where to go from here with these guys, but I think they have two capable corners long term, which is a good thing. T-Bass, I don't think Booth is a bust. You obviously would have liked to have seen more. But the time he's been on the field this year, he's been fine. He's been good. He hasn't been a liability.
Like Mateo said, Booth is sort of like Davenport. When Davenport's been on the field, he looked great. Just getting him on the field. What's Odie doing?
He is. So the way my office is set up, I have like all my hoodies and jerseys, which I have like a jersey collection of like 40. They are just chilling, and like the closet door is open. It's like those open up ones, the 4 panels, and he's just exploring, looking for something he can chew. But I brought in a bone and his little lamb. He loves his lamb. So we'll yeah, he's doing okay, right, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's being a good boy.
for those that are asking for film breakdowns to learn more, we'll probably get into that this upcoming summer. So we can go through that.
With my schedule, it is hard to do them on a regular basis, like in this medium. I can do it, clip it, and then post it on Vikings Wire. That's a little bit easier for me just because of how the process works, because I have to get all these clips to Dave. Dave has to upload them, and then we have to be in sync on how we're going to talk about them because he controls everything on his end. I don't get to press a button and then start and stop. So we have to kind of figure that stuff out too. But yeah, we'll have stuff like that this summer. But until then, we'll do stuff on VikingsWire.com, and I do film stuff every week. So this week, I think the focus is going to be on play calling, the running game, trying to figure out Kevin O'Connell, because my vibes, as I said last night, were that he got out adjusted, but it might have just been the Vikings just didn't execute. And I'm going to try and find out that answer when I watch the film, because overall, I think Kevin O'Connell's a great play caller. I think he's a great schemer, and I think he sets his players up to succeed more than almost anybody in the league. Sometimes that's not enough, and you still have to execute. Like the game against the Cowboys is one I used. The Vikings had beaters for the cover 3 that they were running, and they were getting open. Problem was the pressure got to Kirk Cousins. Odie, come here, bud. I don't like that you're sniffing. You're going to pee on Dad's floor. I'm calling it. Odie, come here. Odie, if you pee on my floor, I will kick you out of my house.
That is one thing that Dalton, that Tyler's already doing, but he'll especially get into once our season is over.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll figure out a way to show some of those tapes.
Yeah, we'll do that. I want to talk about 2 more things, then we're going to get out of here a little early. We have the Super Bowl rematch tonight, so it's something you're going to want to watch. Ivan Pace Jr. played every single snap and was a menace in the run game. And what he lacks in size, he makes up for in elusiveness. And something that he's been doing recently is big offensive linemen will be out front. He will like maneuver around him, like dip. Like, have you ever seen the movie Dodgeball? Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. And that's kind of how Ivan Pace Jr. plays football. He just avoids impact. And sometimes he just like takes his body and uses it like a battering ram in ancient Rome and throws himself against these linemen like he's trying to bust through and take down Julius Caesar. Like, it's some pretty cool stuff. He is awesome, and he's fun, and he's a lunatic, and he's all these different things. I don't know what kind of future he has long-term being like an every down backer, but I think this was a good test, and he passed, and he did well. And the Vikings could have just scored huge on a UDFA linebacker who plays like a psychopath. And I mean that in the most endearing way. Playing like a psychopath in the NFL, this is a good thing. And I wanted to give him a shout out, and I'm excited to kind of watch the defense of all 22, try and figure out what this is going to look like long term and how well he actually did play on Sunday, because I think he did play really well. Last thing, Dave, the offense needs Justin Jefferson back. And it's not an insult to everybody else. It's more of a credit to what Justin Jefferson does and how he impacts defenses. We didn't really feel it in the first 5 games. But we felt it on Sunday because Addison was not at his best. Hawkinson wasn't at his best. I actually labeled Hawkinson one of my duds for the week. And Josh Dobbs' ball placement is an issue. He is hitting guys just in the surface area, but because you're only hitting him in the surface area and not hitting a pinpoint spot, it's allowing defenders to make plays on the football. If you make plays on the football, that's bad for the offense. Cousins would throw with precision. Dobbs doesn't have that. Will he get it in this offense? I can't tell you that. A lot of this has to do with chemistry, where if I know Dave is running a 12-yard out route, I know exactly where I need to throw the ball once I hit the back of my drop because we practiced it.
Yeah,
and we
do
have
it blindfolded.
Yes, he can do it blindfolded. All he has to do is see, okay, I'm here. He's there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Set, fire, ball in the right spot. Dobbs doesn't have that with any of these receivers. Maybe Hawkinson, because they've worked together in the offseason. But you can't expect him to have it. And ball placement's never been something he's been great at in the NFL. Well, he's also bounced around from team to team. So maybe that's part of the issue. Maybe once he has a real run, you'll start to see that improve and improve and improve. And ball placement, honestly, could have, if the ball placement was good on like 3 or 4 throws, Vikings probably win the game. And that's why they call football a game of inches. A few inches here, a few inches there can change the outcome drastically.
Oh, like those. All right, it's under review. Did he pass the line of gain? And each time it was, nope, he's just that short.
Yep. And why does this all matter? Because once you have Jefferson can make those catches. Where if it's thrown back shoulder, he can grab it and pull it with strength and be able to catch it.
He's got a bigger envelope to use a flight test term.
Yeah. Yep. He also impacts how the game is played. He impacts how people attack the Vikings offense. He makes it a lot easier for his teammates to be able to get open. All of this matters. All of it. And I'm really excited to see what it looks like with Dobbs. I'm excited to see what it looks like with all of these guys, because I think that there is a potential to be really, really good, but you have to be able to fix some of those little nuances. And the Vikings didn't throw one ball 20 plus yards down the field. Sorry, one. It was the last one. The last throw of the game went 20 plus yards. So having Jefferson could make that a real big impact. And I will also say Brandon Powell outsnapped Jalen Nailor 44-3. So once Jefferson comes back, Nailor's wide receiver 5. It is not.
Oh, that's Brandon. What happens when you're hurt and you don't get the playing time.
I will say, I think it's less about Nailor and I think it's more about Powell. Powell's played very well and he balled out all camp. But as you said, if Nailor was playing, that probably doesn't get to manifest itself in the same way. And Nailor did play a lot of snaps last week and he played 3 this week. You can't say it was for the run game, because if it was because of the run game, Nailor's a better blocker than Powell is. It's not like Powell's getting jet sweeps or they were running a lot of jet action. Like Powell's just passed him on the depth chart. And that's okay. It's good to have players rise up and be better because it helps your football team. And now when they don't have to be relied on as much, they can still be utilized. And you all of a sudden have a stronger, football team. And that's a great thing to have. And I think that's one of the things with this culture that Kevin O'Connell has really built. It helps the Vikings. It helps them take things to a different level. And I don't know if this Vikings team will end up doing anything in the playoffs. If I had to guess, they'll make the wild card and they'll make some noise in the wild card round. Will that result in the win? I don't know. But if they get to the divisional round, I think they're probably done. But this is the competitive rebuild. The Vikings weren't expecting to do anything this year. And if they make the playoffs with this roster and how this season is gone, that's a culture win. And that is how you continue to build belief and skills and true development in your locker room. That's how you build a winner. Yeah, it'd be nice to get the first overall pick, Caleb Williams and Drake May. And if that would have happened, I would have been okay with that. But this is also a good thing. Being able to extrapolate what's going on and maximize your circumstances. That's what the Vikings are doing. I think that's great long-term for this franchise, and we should be happy with how things are going.
And think about it. Everybody's talking about KOC. KOC's only in his second year as a head coach. When the Wilfs and the brain trust behind the Wilfs hired both Kwesi and KOC, they knew that the window wouldn't be expected to be opened until probably next year or the year after at the earliest. But they wanted to win during that time period to be competitive. They're achieving that. And it takes a while for a head coach a brand new one, to get his legs under himself. Even with the great ones, it took a while when they were brand new rookies to learn that. And they're no different. They're no different than that. They've done I think, a pretty good job so far. And I expect them to grow as well as we go through the rest of this season and hopefully into the playoffs and see how far in the playoffs we get, because they're still at that, that building portion of this. So I'm not harping on it too much for that. It could be worse. Like Michael says, we could be a dumpster fire. We are not. And he lists the Commanders, but there's the Cardinals, and there's plenty of examples out there. I do want to address real quickly, Jeremy, you asked about offensive linemen. I have answered that numerous times because I follow the big round bellies, that yes, what they're taught in college, but also before college, high school, and Pop Warner style of stuff greatly affects what we get in the NFL. And I've gone on about it. I won't go on about it tonight, but yes, that is a huge factor. And that may be why we have 12 backup quarterbacks starting now.
Mm-hmm. Guys, unless there's any questions from the chat, we're going to wrap it up because look, you get a Super Bowl rematch the week of Thanksgiving. You got to go watch and you got to get yourself set up. And I want to give everybody the opportunity to do that. I'll say this much. We are blessed right now with where the Vikings are at, considering everything, considering what Rick Spielman left this franchise with the bad contracts and a subpar roster and basically wasting 4 third-round picks in one draft. We're blessed to have had an organization that found a capable general manager who is willing to listen to all parties involved and not go rogue and make decisions for the betterment of us rather than him. We're blessed that he found a head coach who I didn't believe in it at first compared to the other candidates. And I'm glad I'm wrong. O'Connell's been great. 19-9 to start his career as a head coach. And he's shown himself to also be a really creative and talented play caller. We're in a great spot. And we're going to be able to take things moving forward. T-Bass, I'm going to disagree with you. We don't have cheap ownership. We have ownership that's willing to fork over money if it helps this organization try to win a Super Bowl. They have shown that time and time again. And I don't know how much Kevin O'Connell's getting paid, but when you look at the pool last year for potential coaches, the best candidates were guys who didn't have experience outside of Jim Harbaugh. Like I'm okay with hiring a young up and comer because that can be just as good as somebody who's already has experience doing the job. But ownership has been willing to pay money. Look at TCO, US Bank Stadium. Oh yeah, and US Bank Stadium is already paid for. The 30-year loan that they took from the city of Minneapolis already paid it back. Yeah, that's pretty dope. They took them 7 years to pay that back. That's awesome. But when you look at it, I think the Vikings are set up for success. I really do. We'll be back Wednesday with some form of show. We're going to try and do it live, but there's a possibility that it is a tape show. And if I don't get to see you live until then, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. And I want to hear in the comments one thing that you're thankful for. One thing. And I want it to be, I want to hear one thing Vikings related, one thing not Vikings related. What are you thankful for? I'm thankful for my wife and my dogs. And I'm also thankful that we get to watch Brandon Powell play football because go Gators, baby. Look, I'm thankful that the Vikings have made this a fun season to watch. There's nothing worse when you're covering a team than covering an average team. I'd like to cover a really bad team or a really good team. You don't want to cover an 8-8 team. And this has been a fun team. Dave, let's finish off with this. What are you thankful for?
Hey, I'm thankful for this great community, and Jeremy hits it up. You guys make it all the best for us. I've preached it numerous times and across many channels. You all make us, the ability to talk Vikings football like we're sitting in a bar or sitting by a fire or in front of a grill with a couple beers or whiskeys and just having a good time talking about it. You warm our hearts, and I'm very grateful that you allow us into your life doing that and talking the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm grateful for, all my good friends that I've met and work with here, Tyler being one of them. And it's just awesome. Life is good. Life is real good. With family, the whole works. It's good.
Spout off in the comments, guys. I want to hear what you're thankful for. Not just the live comments. I mean the comments. What are you thankful for? One Vikings, one life.
Hey, T-Bass. Yes, you're correct about the two most successful head coaches had in common. The answer was head coaching experience. Well, if KOC wins one more, he moves ahead of everybody for the most wins in his first two seasons, including Denny.
Yeah. Odie's a happy boy. He's getting pets right now. He's like, Dad, can we go? I'm excited to go see my sister.
Well, then let's do that. Tell everybody we'll see him Wednesday. There's plenty to be thankful for. And hey, we got the Bears coming up next week, so should be a great holiday weekend.
Bears. We're gonna beat those guys. We're gonna have a sausage while doing it, and we're gonna sing the praises of Mike Ditka. From Dave, I'm Tyler. He's Odie. SKOL Vikings, baby.
See you Wednesday. SKOL Vikings. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love, our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching the Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone.